Hello CS 157 students. We're continuing using Codiva with our program P1, and what we're about to do is we're about to start creating objects, which you can do that in Python, but we didn't need to do that with Python. We were dealing with objects like a picture was an object. This sound file, sound was an object. But in Java, you typically have to start creating your own objects. So we will do that. And here's the main idea. The main idea is going to be a object contains some data, and the subroutines or methods, you can use either word, that touch the data. So in Jez, when we had our pictures, and then inside the picture object was all the pixels and stuff like that, and also inside the picture object was the methods like, get pixel and display and things like that. Okay, so picture objects had picture data in them and all the methods which manipulated a picture. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to create an object called person. And what you really do is you create a class called person, and the class will tell you what the object looked like. And then we could make a lot of objects that are all kind of the same with different data inside, a lot of person objects. So in order to create a new class, a new variety of objects in Java, what you're going to do is you will create a new file, and the new file has to have the same name as your class, and it's .java. And the convention is in Java that these things always start with a capital letter. It works if they don't start with a capital letter, but people will look at you weird. Okay. So now we have our original p1.java, and we're going to have a new class called person. Alright, get rid of main because we don't need main here. And inside of the person class, we're going to have data, and then later we'll put the subroutines, the methods which touch that data. So these are going to be called instance variables, also known as class variables. Notice the new style of comment. These comments will start with a /*, end with a //. You can make one comment go over several lines, one line depending, it doesn't matter. You start with this thing, you put some stuff, and you end with that thing. So let's get a variable here for first name. So there we have the instance variables for our class. The other thing you will typically want is a subroutine that you use for stuffing the data into the object when the object is first created, and that's called a constructor. Like that, okay? I'll put some space there. And it's declared just like that. So you give it the same name as the class name. And in this case, we're going to want to give it two pieces of data. Every time we make a new person object, we want to put a first name and a last name in there, right? Okay. So we're going to call this method. These are the arguments. These are arguments just like in Python, except remember we got to declare our variables. So we're saying that f would be a string and L would be a string, right? In Python this would be, alright, like that. Okay. Also remember that in Python we had the colon and the indenting stuff, and over here all we have is these braces marking the beginning and the end. And what are we going to need to do? Well, the argument f contains the first name, and we'll just stuff it into the object. And the same thing with L. And that's it. This is a method which takes those two values, sticks it into the object. Alright, back to P1, and we want to make, if we want to make a person object, we use the magic word new. First, remember, we have to declare our variables. I could do it just like this, and then I could say okay, so then A is going to be a person object, where that's the first and the last name. And I could do this all in one statement. I could do it like that. That will work too. So, but you know that from your earlier coding exercises. Let's make another person. So now A and B are both persons. Okay, Shui Sheng is student in Chinese. So now we have two person objects. And just to prove to you that an object has data inside, I will now try printing it out. Remember? Plus A dot plus okay, so there is the A object. We're going to get the first name and the last name out of it, and then here the same thing with the B object. Alright, so now I have two files in my program. Just like I promised you, you're going to have multiple files. This file contains a class declaration. Every time we create a person object, it will contain 2 bits of data inside of it. And here is what we do when we want to create a new object. This is the subroutine which is called. And over here we have a main program. Remember main. Inside of main we have 2 person variables which will have person objects inside of them. This magic new is how we create objects. Here is calling that constructor method. And then here we are getting the first name and the last name out of person A and the first name and the last name out of person B and printing them. And we'll run this. And there we are. We got the first name out of the object. See? Here was Abe and student. Here we got the first name for B and the last name for K. So inside of the object was those names. Okay, enough for now.